So with this course, I'll go through some few things that you need to know about the IELTS test with you, and also I'll drive on the types of IELTS test that you need to know. I'll also talk about the IELTS test and where they are being accepted. Okay, where they are being accepted, the organizations, and also the countries that accept the test, so that you know that that particular test you are writing is not just for fun. Okay, and also we also learn about some facts you need to know about the band scores, and also we go through we finish it with the IELTS test format. I'll also give you time for you to ask questions, any question, because this is our first time. You will not be talking too much. I'll give you time to interact so that you can ask any question that you want to, whether about the team or about the IELTS itself. So before I start, I cannot begin without introducing what the full meaning of IELTS is. So the IELTS test is English Language Test System, International English Language Test System, which is mostly built for those who want to work, study, or they want to migrate to an English language speaking country. So when they want to go to a country where the English language is their first kind of language, then you have to write this particular test. So it's for three purposes. Either you want to work, you want to study, or you want to migrate to an English speaking country, then you have to write this test. The test is owned and managed by the British Council, IDP Australia, and Cambridge Examination. Okay, so these three boards are those that manages the IELTS test, and it's there just to assess how you communicate to others in the country that you want to go in. So I give this example mostly that if you want to go to a different country where they do not speak your native language, and as a professional, if you want to work there, I think the basic problem that you might have is communication problem. Okay, because of language barrier, and because these English countries want you to feel safe, as well as their patients or their people to also feel safe when you are taking care of them, and they want a very smooth communication to go through while you are transacting either business or health, whatever you want to do while you are working there. They want to make sure that what you are doing it properly, and they don't want communication to be the hindrance to your efficiency. Therefore, they want to make sure that you write this this test, and assess you that you will be able to work, study, or live there in safe hand. Now, types of the IELTS test. I will not go in a lot into this, though if you have any questions after this one, you can still ask. Okay, so when you take the IELTS, we have three parts of it. Mostly people know about two, which is the academic and the general, but the last one, we will talk about it when we get there. There are basically three forms of these IELTS tests, and you can write any of them depending on where you want to go and what you want to do. Okay, so these forms of IELTS, we have the academic, the general test, and the lesser one that people know is the life skill test. And each one of these has been designed for a very specific purpose, right? And then the institution that you might want to go in, they might choose one or the other. So just note that. All right, so when you take the first one, which is the IELTS academic, the purpose of this test is that they want to know whether you'll be able to thrive in an academic environment. Okay, so it is mostly required, or people that mostly want this kind of test is the universities. So the universities and then the professional registration board need this particular type of test. Okay, so they assess if your language is suitable for academic environment, and they want you to reflect on your academic languages, whether it meets the score that they need or it meets that particular side where they need, and they will also evaluate how ready you are to start a training or study in English. So mostly the academic test is mostly based on those who want to either study, okay, if they want to study or they want to work. But there are two different things here for you to note. When we talk about the academic test, it's for people who want to study at the degree level, okay, at the degree level or higher. So if you want to maybe offer a degree course in any of these universities, you will need the IELTS academic test. You will need the IELTS academic test. And for those who want to also apply for a student visa at the university, as I stated, you also need the academic test, okay, because the immigration expects you to have this kind of test before you be able to go to it. And finally, it's not just for studying, but if you want to enter into any professional institution, okay, if you want to work in a professional organization in any English countries, then you will need the IELTS academic. Okay, so some of these professions that need, or that you, in case you are in it, then if you want to apply for this test, you need to write the academic. If you are in the medicine sector or you are in the nursing section, you will need academic. Pharmacy, accounting, engineering, law, teaching, these are professionals or professional organizations that you will need the writing, you will need the academic test when you want to write these kind of exams. Now let's go on to the general test. The general test is for people who want to work or migrate to the UK or Ireland, Australia, Canada, or New Zealand. Their purpose is to go and work. So the general test is purposely for those who want to go and work. And the language that you find in this particular test, is mostly practical and everyday context. If you are going to study below degree level, then you will need the general test. If you're going to study below degree level, you will need the general test. If you want to migrate to an English speaking country, you will need it as well. And if you want to work, okay, or undertake any work related training, you will need it, like an MVQ or some short training. You will need this general test to go and do it. So you can see that the difference between the academic and the general is the level of qualification you want to build. So the academic mostly deals with degree and higher, while the general deals with below the degree. All right. If there is any other question, when I finish, we can still answer those questions. Now, the last one is the life skill test. So the life skill test is only for immigration purpose or visa purposes. So if you have a family member, maybe the person has an ILR, he has a permanent residency, and you want to go and stay with the person. You are not going to work, you are not going to study, you just want to go and stay with the person because the person has his own permanency. Then you will need the life skill test. Maybe you are in the UK already, Canada already, Ireland already, and you want to extend a spouse or partner visa, then you will need the life skill. Or you just want to get a permanent residency or citizenship, you will need the life skill test. And the differences between these tests is the level of academic strength, the academic difficulty that you might find within the test, how the whole test have been organized, and the context of it. Okay, so that is the differences that you might get. Now, which countries accept this kind of exam? So there are a lot of countries that accept this exam over 140 countries accept this particular type of exam, and it is a proof that you understand an English language. But there are 7 which are very common, and I believe most of us know: the Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, New Zealand and Ireland, and even now the United States of America, which was at first overruling the TOEFL, right? It was actually considering TOEFL more than that of IELTS, but now IELTS is also getting more strength in the United States of America. So even if you want to go to the US, you might need the IELTS before you go, depending on what you want to do. Now, let's go to the next thing. Now, let's go and check on the facts for the band scores. Some things you should know about the band scores. Now, the band scores that you need will depend on the requirement of the institution where you are planning to go. Okay, so whatever band score that you will need to get. Someone will ask, what is a band score? Band score is a grade. So I want to bring it down to our own understanding. In our basic lessons, after completing senior high school or junior high school, you are given a grade before you enter into the university and the rest. Okay, so those grades are called band scores in IELTS. So we have from band 1 to band 9. Okay, from band 1 to band 9, where band 9 is the highest, which tells the examiner that, or the institution, that you speak like a native. You're able to talk like a native. And then 1 is the lowest. So the band score that you need will depend on the institution that you are planning to go and the organization that you want to work for. So it tells you that the band scores are different. Okay, sometimes there are some schools that will accept, or some universities that will accept 6.56, others will accept 5.56. okay, band scores of 5, band scores of 5.5, band scores of 6.5. all right, some schools accept that. Others also accept only 7 and above. So it depends on the organization that you want to go to. So that's why I mostly tell students that we don't have somebody who have failed an IELTS test. We only have somebody who did not meet the requirements that you want to get. Okay, so if you write the test and you get 6.5 for one particular part, don't think that you failed. No, you only did not meet that particular requirement for the place you want to go. But that test, that score can be used for another thing. Doesn't mean that your score cannot be used and then the whole certificate is a waste. No. So it depends on where you want to go and what you want to do. As I also said, it's for the organization you want to work for. All right, so the organization you want to work for, there are some organizations that will tell you that, okay, we want somebody who has a grade of 6, especially we know for nurses. So the band scores will depend on where you want to go. Before you apply for you apply to a university or you apply to a particular job, please check the band score that they need. Check it with the university. Let them know, they should let you know the band score that they need before you start preparing yourself. So the band score for the nurse wouldn't be the same band score for the support worker. Okay, and there are even some who does not also need a high band score, as I already stated. So please check with the organization you want to work for, and then you will know the actual band score that you will need. So it will depend on 1, the institution, 2, the organization, and then a visa requirement for the country that you want to work or study in. Okay, so somebody will ask that, what will happen if I don't get the score that I need? All right, sometimes unfortunate, and it happens, we might be looking for a particular score and then we don't get it. So what do you do when it happens that way? There are 2 things, or there are 2 options that you can take. 1, you either ask for a remarking or you retake the exam. So you either ask for remarking or you retake the exam. I don't know if many people know that you can ask for remarking in IELTS. Yes, you can do that. Only if you have a very good reason. Only if you have a very good reason to do that. Have a very good reason before you decide to go and remark. The reason is that the examiners are trained. The whole exam is being supervised and they pass through several processes. So for you to get a different score for the work that they have already marked, I would say it's very minimal. The chance for your score to change is minimal. So unless you know that exactly, I think there is something that should be done and my score should be more than what I've already got, then you can ask for remarking. Other than that, just do the second thing I'm going to advise you with. Try to identify the areas that you make errors, learn how to rectify them, and practice new skills until you no longer make those mistakes. So it tells you that look out for what the problems you're having and rectify it before you go and write the second one. Okay, so have a good reason before you think of going for remarking. But someone will say, yes, I want to go for remarking. If you want to go for remarking, then these are the 7 things that you need to know. What we call remarking in IELTS, we call it inquiry of results. So maybe you got a particular score, you want to change it, or you want to go for a remarking, then on their page you will see what we call inquiry of results. It's called EOR. So you look out for the EOR. You have to apply this. You have to apply for the EOR within 6 weeks after you have received your results. It has to be 6 weeks after you have received your results. Okay, so don't let that date pass. And remember that it comes at a fee, because they will not remark it for you free of charge. No, it will come at a fee. They will seek for something. So that particular fee is there for you. Only if your score changes, then it will be refunded. But if it does not change, then know that your money will be taken. You can ask for the whole exam to be remarked, or sometimes you can look out for some few of them, like the writing and the speaking, because when it comes to the reading and listening, it's just numerical. So for them to get for it to be a mistake, it's minimal. But speaking and writing, yes, you can go for remarking. Your test will be remarked by an examiner again, who did not see your score, your original score, and it will take up to 21 days, 3 weeks, for you to receive the other score. What happens is that the old score that you had, the old certificate, will not go with until 2 years pass. Okay, 2 years pass. Those, in case you have a different result, the old one will not go with until 2 years pass, and you are not allowed to use it. Okay, the time of remarking, you are not allowed to use that old TRF until the remarking process is complete. When you get the new one, it is the new one that works. Sorry, it is the new one that works. The old one is not your original score. The new one is the new one that works. Okay, so take note of that. Nevertheless, if you have the old score, I'll come back to it. Your score, if your score change, then you'll be issued a new TRF, and that TRF will be the only one that works. So the old one will be a mistake. All right, let's go on. Now let's go and look at the fact we should consider when we are dealing with let's look at the fact for retaking the text. Maybe you decided to retake the test. You don't want remarking, you want to retake the test. So if you want to retake the test, then you can take the exam as many times as you want. You can retake it as many times as you want. There is nothing like take it just twice in a year or 3 times in a year. No, you can take it as many times as you want, and then there is no specific time to spend in between before you write again. If you finish writing today and you want to write another one tomorrow, you can book. Okay, so there is no specific time that you need to wait for about 2 months before you write another. No. Okay, so that's it. And you must retake the whole exam if you don't meet the required score. If you miss one of them, maybe you missed the tax 1 and you want to retake it, you cannot only take the writing tax 1. You have to retake the whole test. Again, the speaking, the writing, the listening, the reading. You need to retake all of them. Okay, and then currently we have what we call clubbing. Okay, some is accepted. If you get 2 of them, it can be clubbed. Depending on where you are in the UK, you can just do that. Okay, you can club your exam, the old exam and then the new one. You can club both of them to meet your score, only if both of them actually meets what you want to do. Okay, and then when they are marking your tests or when you are going to retake the exam, they will not consider the old one. They will not consider the old one and say, okay, I think you had 6.5 for the old one. Let's make this one a little bit easier for you so that you can pass it. No one actually considers the old one. They will not actually see what you had for the previous score. So it's a whole total new thing that you need to note. All right, if your old score does not meet if your old writing or your old test does not meet the score that you need, that does not mean your certificate cannot work. If you had a total of 6.5 for the first test you had, but you needed maybe 7.0, if you write the second one and you get 7, does not mean that the 6.5 cannot do anything. You can still use it, especially if you get maybe a position or a university that accepts the 6.5, you can use that one. All right, so I'm just trying to tell you that the previous test will still be valid, and it's valid for 2 years. Okay, it's valid for 2 years. So the test format is the same wherever you take your exam. The same test for those who take it in the UK and those who take it in Ghana, they are the same. There is no difference. The exam is divided into 4 sections. You have the exam is in 4 sections. You have the writing test, the listening test, the reading test, and then the speaking test. Right? So they focus on all the 4 sides of communication. The communication can be either receptive or you giving it out. You either receive the information or you are giving it out. When you are receiving information, you either read it or you listen to it. And if you are giving out information, you either write it or speak it out. Okay, so they make sure they cover all these 4 sides and assess you on it so that they don't miss on any part of them. When you are talking about the test, there are we have 2 different formats of the test. We have the academic test and then the general test, and then you can choose any of them that you want. Now, the total time of the exam is 2 hours and 45 minutes, and then it encapsulates all of them. It can calculate all of them. You have the writing, the listening, the reading, and the speaking. All of them, you might spend about 2 hours and 45 minutes there. Okay, so the writing will take you 60 minutes, and you'll be writing 2 different tasks. We have the task 1 and 2. You'll be writing both of them. Then the listening test, you will be given 30 minutes, where they'll be playing an audio for you to answer some questions. and the questions are 40. Have 40 questions to solve. The next type of the exam is the reading task, where you have 60 minutes to also finish it up, 3 long passages, and then you have 40 questions under them to solve. And the last type of the essay is the last type of the test is the speaking test, where you spend about 11 to 14 minutes with an examiner. So you have a conversation with the examiner or an interview with the examiner, all right? And then they'll be assessing you on how you speak or communicate through speaking. So these are the 4 types, or the 4 types of essays or tests that you'll be writing, right? The writing test, the listening test, reading test, and then the speaking test. I'll pick it one after the other, and then that will be the last part of our session. All right, the writing task. The writing task will take you 60 minutes for you to finish. And then you can choose to take either the academic or the general. But listen to this. All that I'm saying, if you want to take academic, then you'll be writing only academic writing tasks. So don't mix it. You cannot choose you want to write an academic test and then you choose whether you write academic for writing and then general for reading. No, you can't do that. So if you're writing on the academic, all tests will be on academic. If you're writing on general, all tests will be on general. So take note of that. So with the writing task, you can either choose to take either the academic or the general training test. And the only difference between the two of them is the material that you use, that are used to test you. Okay, the materials that are used to test you, and then the type of language that you will use to answer. That is the differences. So the academic has its own format, where you get mostly an academic format, a very formal type of essay, while the general test with the writing will be somehow personal. All right, so that will be the differences. We'll delve into it when we enter, when we try to also solve them or go into detail. So with the writing task, there are 2 parts. You have the task 1 and the task 2. You have task 1 and task 2. With the task 1, you have to write on a graph or a picture. You will describe a graph or a picture. These graphs can be a table, can be a pie chart, anything of that sort. I'll come there. But you need to write at least 150 words for them. And then the task 2, your essay should also not be less than 250 words. So if you're writing a task 2 essay under the writing test, then your task 1 should be not less than 150, and task 2 should not be less than 250. Now, when you take the academic writing task, alone, the task 1 for the academic, you will be presented with a graph or a table or a chart or diagram, and you are supposed to describe them, summarize them, or explain an information in your own words. Okay, so they'll give you a picture, which is either a table, pie chart, whatever that they will give it to you, and yours is to report about them. So in your own words, you describe them. So it'll be like a report writing. You need to just talk about it. So in it, you describe and explain the data. You might talk about stages and processes. There are different types. We will go into it when we get into it. So that is how the writing task 1 will be. The task 2. In the task 2, you are required to write on an essay of general interest. So anything you can think about as a problem, as a topic in life, it can still be a writing task 2 question. It can be about technology, education, parenting, finance, traveling, anything that you can think about. So whatever topic that seems right in your head can be a task 2 question. and in it you might be asked to either explain, bring out an opinion, oppose it, or write an advantage or disadvantage of it, solve some problem. Please mute your microphone. Mute your microphone. All right, so you might be having all these things, and all that you need to do is to answer the question according to the task that has been given to you. If you take the general test will also give you 2 different tasks as well. All right, but the difference, as I told you, is the context, the things that they expect you to do. So with the task 1 for the general test, you are required to write a letter which is requesting information or explaining situations in relation to specific circumstances. Okay, so you are just supposed to write a letter. So the letter might be about it might be personal. Okay, so it may be something personal or semi-formal style. That is for the general test. It might be an informal, which is personal, or a semi-formal task. And then the task 2, you are required to write an essay on a topic of interest as well. And your essay will be a response to specific point of view. So the task 2 for the general test is like the task 1. Sorry, it's like the academic task 2 as well. So it might be about an opinion, but the task 1 for the general test is a letter, which might be an informal. Sometimes you are writing a letter to a friend or a colleague. It's something personal that you need to note that. So your tone of language will be either informal or semi-formal. Now let's go to the next one, which will be the listening test. Let's pick the listening test now. So with the listening test, you have 30 minutes. In this 30 minutes, there will be an audio played, a recorded audio will be played to you. I believe those who are from Ghana, you have what we call an oral language in your senior high schools. So it's like an oral language test where they'll play the audio for you, and what you need to do is to listen to it and answer the questions on the paper that has been given to you. All right, so you need to spend 30 minutes on this, and after you have answered the question, they will give you an extra 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. So as I said, the test format of writing will be in 4 sections, and I said that it's an audio that will be played and you need to answer it. It's in 4 different sections, and each of the sections you will listen to this recorded test, and then you answer series of questions along with it. Remember, the text will be played only once. The test will be played once for you to answer. Okay, so in case you start to learn, try as much as possible to be keen, attentive, because you will not get them to replay it again for you if you miss it. No one will replay it for you when you miss it. So you stay attentive and make sure that you hear and answer the questions accordingly. The voices and the tonations might be different. You might get different tones and then accents. All right, but they are all clear for you to understand. Don't worry about it. When we get into it, you understand it. 40 questions will be given to you for you to solve, and there are different types of questions that you might meet. You might make questions on matching, multiple choice questions, tables, notes, sentence completion, and many other. All right, there are about 10 questions and the listening test that you might get. With the sections of the test, under the test 1 for the listening, you will get somebody who is having a telephone call. Mostly it's a social view. You might get someone who is asking, maybe asking for a reservation in a hotel. All right, so there will be a conversation between 2 people in a set of everyday social context. So somebody will be booking a ticket to a theater. That is what you might be hearing in the section 1. In the section 2 of the listening test, you have an individual talking, and it's mostly like what I'm doing. you'll be introducing a new topic or a new kind of course to a lot of people. So one person will be having that particular talk. So it will be a monologue set in an everyday social context where a tutor might be welcoming new colleagues to a class. So a welcome talk to a new colleague student might be what you get in the section 2. When we talk about the section 3 will also be a conversation, so a dialogue. And this time it will not be just 2 people, it will be about 3, at most 4 people. Okay, so 3 to 4 people might be speaking at the same time on an academic topic. So it might be a research that these students want to know more about, or they are asking their tutor about something. So 3 people will be talking and you need to just listen to them and make your headway when your question is being asked. Section 4 will be a monologue talk where one person will be talking, and then it's mostly an academic ground. So they will be talking about a particular topic, maybe something like like an animal, okay, a wildlife, or an agricultural topic. Okay, so maybe you're talking about a deer or a mountain lion. All right, so you hear the person describing the mountain lion, how it is, and they'll be leaving some spaces for you to fill according to the questions being asked. So that's what you get when you are dealing with the listening test. Now, the last part of us, okay, I think last part 1 is the reading. Am I still on? So with the reading test, I stated that you'll be given 60 minutes to finish this work. Okay, so reading test, the timing is 60 minutes, and then you have there are 2 different versions of this test. We have the academic version and then the general training version. So those who want to take the general training, there is a different reading contest you might get, and then those who want to also pick on the academic one, there is a different way your reading will also go. So the difference in the length, the difference in the academic writing and that of the reading, the academic reading and then the general reading, is the length of the test, and then the type of the test. Okay, so both of them are made up of 3 different parts, but the length are different. Okay, the general training is quite shorter or smaller than that of the academic. There will be more in the academic than that of the general. Nevertheless, you have 40 questions to solve in both tests, and you'll be asked on a lot of different types of questions in order to test how wide your reading goes. So with the types of questions that you get under the reading task, you might get a multiple choice question that tells you to identify information or the writer's view, matching information question, matching heading question, matching features, sentence ending, a lot. There are about 12 or 13 types of the reading questions. In the reading task under the academic, you have 3 sections which contain long text that you need to take, and all the tests are taken from real books. So books, newspapers, magazines, journals, they pick those texts from them. So they are real-time tests. They are not just something written or fabricated. They are real from actual writers. So you need to take note of that. And the test will be of general interest, something what is general. Sometimes it might be about topic of wildlife, technology, parenting, education, a lot. So you might take note of that. The test of the academic reading may contain some diagrams and also illustrations and graphs. Okay, so you should also note that. Now, when we take note of the general test, when we consider the general training, you have three parts or three sections, the same as the academic goals, but the difference is what is contained within the academic and that of the general. And as I stated, the length also is different. So when you take the general test, in the section 1 of the general test, you have a very short factual test which is related to everyday life. So you might get something about a hotel evacuation process. Okay, so you're trying to move, right? So you get something about that very short course that you should note. And then the section 2 will also be about it's always related to work. So the first part of it is related to everyday life, and then the second part is related to work issues. So maybe about job description, staff training, or maybe disciplinary procedures. And then the third part is somehow complex. So that one might be from books or newspapers and other things. So you can see the grades. First part is just about everyday life. Second part is about work issues. And then the third part will be something about text, from text, newspapers, and anything about our general interest. So that's what you should note about the reading test. There are 12 types of it, and then both versions have 3 sections. This will end our lesson for today, which will be on the speaking test. The speaking test will be the only type of test that you write alone. Okay, all the other type you write it together. So you will sit for speaking on a separate day, and the other types, which is the listening, the reading, and then the writing, you also sit for it on a separate day. With a speaking test, I already informed you that it's like a conversation or an interview you are having with the examiner. You have about 11 to 14 minutes to spend with the examiner, and then you'll be solving questions, or you'll be having an interview in 3 separate sections. So there is a first part that you have with the examiner, and then the second part and the third part. Okay, so that's what you should know. But 3 of them, you end it within 11 to 40 minutes. When you take the first part of the speaking test, the examiner will be asking you questions of general interest. He'll be asking you general questions about yourself, about your life, about family, and the rest. So you'll be having these simple questions being asked. Okay, talk to me about the color what's your favorite color, your food and stuff. You'll be asking all these questions. After the first part, you move on to the second section, which is the part 2, and this time you are the only one to talk. You'll be speaking for 2 minutes uninterrupted, while he or she gives you 1 minute to prepare. So you'll be given 1 minute to prepare yourself and 2 minutes to speak. So the examiner will hand a card to you, and there is a topic written on it. What you need to do is that he will ask you to speak on a topic for 2 minutes, and then the examiner may ask you 1 or 2 questions after you have spoken. Please note, until the examiner tells you to stop, don't stop, because he times you when your 2 minutes is up. So if you stop before he tells you to stop, then that means that you are not able to meet that particular 2 minutes. They will time you when your 2 minutes is up. They'll tell you to stop, and further question will follow. So keep talking until your 2 minutes is up. You won't be able to know the type of question that you will get. Please don't look out for a poll. If you want to look for a poll, not in IELTS TST, you won't know. There are several questions you can solve, and you might get some questions that also relate to what you will get. But for the actual question you will get in the test, please, you will not know. So always learn to know the general context, the structure, and how to prepare yourself well, and don't go for an actual question that you will get in your exam. So this question might be about your dream job. Sometimes they might ask you your favorite subject that you like, your favorite subject in school, some unusual meals that you had, and also situations where you had to be polite. Several questions, and they'll give you some cue cards which has questions on them, and you need to solve them accordingly. So that will be on the part 2. It's called the individual speaking. The last section is the two-way discussion, and this time it's a follow-up for the part 2. So if they ask you a question, maybe your topic in the part 2 was your dream job, and you talked about the dream job in your part 2. In the part 3, it will be something about employment. Maybe you ask you about how people find it difficult or easy to get employed in your school, in your country, and how people enjoy their work in your country. So it will be a follow-up question to the part 2, and this time you need to discuss it, talk with the examiner. You need to talk more, and you'll be examined on your vocabulary, your grammar, sentence structure, and everything. All right, I believe I've been able to guide you through the whole format of the IELTS test, and by this time I know you have a basic understanding on the whole IELTS concept. If you understand this format, then you have already started preparing yourself for the exam. Thank you so much for being with me throughout this time, and it's time for you to ask your questions.